Hello and welcome to the new and improved Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. I'm Travis Cooper. I'm hanging out here with,
Ian,
and we're going to watch 4 rounds of analog Modern Magic the Gathering live from Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon, USA.
and this Monday we're actually going to watch it because we have a new cable.
It's true. We have a fancy new powered USB cable, so hopefully we won't have issues like we've had in the past, and things are been going smoothly in testing here. So thanks for everyone that continues to watch and your patience the past couple weeks. But everything hopefully will be smooth sailing today. And for our match, it looks like we've got Nat Krosman hanging out, playing Mud or Colorless Eldrazi in Modern nonetheless, and Colton Gardner playing Amulet Titan. So, you have any thoughts, feelings, emotions about this matchup, Ian?
I quite like this matchup as an Amulet Titan player. I think unless Nat can get a good Thought Knot Seer out and Colton's hand has holes to punch in it, that on average Colton is faster and a 6/6 Primeval Titan is quite a quite a big boy and
How,
difficult for Nat's deck to deal with.
so, as someone that plays a fair amount of Amulet, how does a turn one Chalice, if Amulet player's on the draw and the opponent gets it out on turn one, how does that affect your gameplay?
So I actually think that Natch, if he has Chalice, should play it on 0 um, and hope that Colton doesn't have a threat. I actually think that tends to work better. Um, a turn 1 Chalice can punch holes in certain hands, but there are a number of hands that don't care that much about it. And it depends on what Nat has to give up to give that turn 1 Chalice down. If he's just got it as part of a solid hand generally, then I'm totally on board. Um,
What if it's a turn one Chalice on one and a turn one Chalice on zero?
It seems like a lot of resources. I mean, it could be good, but Amulet
Oh,
Titan is a resilient deck.
looks like we do have a couple Spirit Guides and a Chalice.
Yeah. So, all right, I love that. Nat, all right, you ready? Things are happening. So to me, this start is not gonna end up unless Nat has some really good leavings in hand, especially not being able to start on an Eldrazi Temple. He's already down to 2 cards in hand, and he's gonna have to lean really hard on that Chalice to actually do anything.
Well, it looks like we are missing the land drop. But that does have another Simian Spirit Guide, so if we hit land the next turn, we might be able to make a play. Well,
That
Nat missed a land drop, but then got a Thought Knot Seer
that
on
is an
turn
extremely
three.
solid set of draws. Um, Colton playing the kind of new age version of Amulet that's using Karn, and then I assume the Mycosynth Lattice lock in the board. I think if I were Nat, I would take.
Oh, don't! Why did you do that? Ow! No! Oh
Um,
boy! I
I
guess you could plus Karn. It makes
there's
turn Chalice to zero, but then if you take Karn, okay, we're changing idea, changing gears here.
I think I would have taken the Titan instead of Karn, to be
Huh?
honest. I think Karn in this Amulet deck is primarily good to get the Mycosynth Lattice lockdown. Um, and I think Titan's the stronger threat. That said, um, it will, well, until Colton drew a Summoner's Pact, it would have taken him a while to get that prime time down. However, this Azusa is going to totally change that equation. And Colton should have a Titan there to block the Thought Knot Seer as soon as next turn.
Well, we are gonna have to pay for that pact.
Ah, good point. So I guess it may not be till the following turn.
All right, so okay, it looks like Colton's going down to
Wow,
16,
this
and we're
this is
getting another
coming
thought nuts here.
together for Nat. This is when you register Eldrazi. This is what you're hoping for, the mull to 5, and just getting there with 2 Thought-Knots.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This is real bad news for Colton. And also probably super tilting.
Well, we can give that Azusa some abilities in the
I'm
near
a
future.
little surprised that Colton did not pick up that Talaria West um, last turn.
There was a block off the.
Oh, okay,
We're at 12 on
gotcha.
Colton.
I guess he needed. Oh,
Oh,
well, sometimes when your opponent's top decking like a monster, you also get to top deck like a monster.
uh,
And Primetime is a monster.
so, Nat can't play a Smasher if Nat draws it, which would be a way to win in this situation.
Neltrano Karn does seem to have popped up everywhere, and I'm wondering if it's going to stick around or if we'll see it fade out. And also, thank you so much for subscribing for 3 months. We really appreciate it, and your hard-earned cash went towards our new cable
We.
that is letting the webcam work. So we appreciate it.
I feel like Karn's going to get a little bit overshadowed once the new Dredgevine list or Bridgevine list, whichever version you're playing, come out and decimate Modern for a couple weeks. But eventually, I think, yeah, just Karn's generically such a good card, and with that Lattice combo, it's like a 1 card combo basically, plus added utility. I've even thought about playing it in control decks as maybe a 2 of.
Although what's good against that deck is Ensnaring Bridge with a Karn out, because you will keep their creatures from attacking, and you will also keep them from comboing you out because their Altar of Dementia will not work under a Karn.
That's true.
So it has some game in that matchup. Bogdan running a store stream. That's awesome that you're running a stream. I think the tips and tricks that Travis and I have learned are make sure your equipment is working, and then continue to make sure your equipment is working, because consistency has been the most key thing for us, and also one of the harder things for us to achieve.
Yeah, when you're doing stuff on a budget, it's kind of challenging to just have things that work consistently all the time, especially in a game store when people are tripping over your cables and knocking over your tripods. Also, having a really good producer that does video work for like his normal real life job is pretty great too.
That is helpful. But anyway, uh,
Are we gonna have any blocks? Nope, Nat's gonna take it.
interesting. Not wanting to sacrifice his entire board here. I don't think it gets any better, though. For Nat.
Yeah, so Colton's threatening lethal the next turn.
Yep.
And I think we might get another Titan here. Oh, no. Whoa.
Yeah,
Main deck Hornet Queen.
Yeah, so Colton kind of must have some sort of beat on the meta here at Guardian. It is Hornet Queen main deck is one of those things that I think is super meta dependent, but can be huge, especially if like lots of people are leaning on, for example, humans in your meta.
I would say there are quite a few humans players here in Portland, but I feel like in general there's like humans is a bit on an upswing after Arclight kind of stopped playing more than one, if any, gut shots and has died down a little bit. Humans is decent matchup against blue-white control, which has also had a bit of an uptick in popularity lately. And it's just generally like a kind of fair, interactive deck that is also very aggressive.
I like that humans is one of the best decks in the format, and I honestly kind of hope that continues. I think it's always good to have, I don't know, a kind of like Delver style disruptive fast deck available.
All right, we're going to sideboards here. Not quite sure what Nat brings in. Might be some Graph Digger's cages to prevent the searching from Colton. Seems Dismember doesn't seem great, but maybe it does enough that you might want to bring it in. Your opponent, if Colton's still on the Tribe Scout plan, Dismember's pretty important to slowing Colton down.
And I can't imagine Colton wanting to board to make his deck slower in this matchup. I think he has to leave in a number of the cards that give him speed. So I wouldn't be taking out a lot of Tribe Scouts. I could definitely see cutting a couple if he is playing that build. I think Karn is fantastic here, as I think Ensnaring Bridge is really good. Obviously that messes with Colton's main game plan as well. But Colton's more than happy sitting back under a bridge and building up a walking ballista and then just eventually pinging Nat to death if that's what it takes. I think it'll be interesting to see if Nat just forgoes using any resources on Chalice besides just putting it down on 0, as that's definitely something that I would recommend. I think the texture of last game might have been different, even had Nat put that Chalice down on 0.
All right, turn 1 Temple, turn 1 Eldrazi Mimic for Nat. And we just get a Gemstone Mine and passing of the turn. Colton's playing a Gemstone Mine, Nat's playing a Gemstone Cavern. Scourge in play, swinging in for 3.
Ooh, Colton pausing, so maybe representing that he might have a path here?
Ooh.
Interesting. That's
to me, that's telling that Colton probably has a pretty slow hand, but ramping your Eldrazi opponent and pathing the Mimic is a fairly either extremely defensive or really aggressive play.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it really, really gives away that Colton has a very slow hand. My guess is he does not have any of his like 1-mana ramp spells, and it kind of looks like he's just sitting on a hand of lands. Karn in a prime time was what I was seeing. So I think that's a defensible play, as even if you're ramping the Eldrazi opponent a little bit, if you know you're just trying to make it to the late game here.
And yeah, we'll get to actually Cute Bunny's question maybe in between the match.
Mm-hmm.
White control deck one should
It's
play
a
in
very
Modern.
you question.
All right, second Eternal Scourge. That's
So,
had a pretty strong propensity for drawing cards in multiples here.
yes. Let's actually take a look at Eternal Scourge.
Plays well with Relic of Progenitus. Ho, Colton playing a Vesuva, copying Nat's Ghost Quarter. And Colton taking 6, dropping down to 11.
So let's take a look at Eternal Scourge. So, Travis, something that is interesting about Eternal Scourge is that you can target it in Amulet Titan with your Slayer strongholds to get rid of it.
Oh, we got a path, another path here on Colton for an Endless One that was cast on 6.
I don't know if the game will get to that point where Colton's looking to use his Slayer Stronghold to get rid of Eternal Scourges, but kind of an interesting little thing that you can do.
It's true, yeah, whenever it gets targeted, it gets exiled. All right, we're cashing in the Gemstone Mine to cast a Karn.
Oh,
so
that's got to feel really bad.
that Serum Powder is just going to hang out there and not be able to be tapped for mana.
Okay. You're going to get a thing.
Losing Gemstone Mines in this Titan deck is one of my least favorite feelings.
What are you wishing for here?
I mean, I think he's got 2 turns left to live unless he gets something that affects the board. So maybe an Engineered Explosives would buy him a turn. Maybe he's looking to get a walking ballista so that he can. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing where it double pings to get rid of both Eternal Scourges.
Okay, that seems like a decent play there. 'Cause if I'm Nat, I'm definitely getting rid of that Karn. This is not the Emerge deck, it's just a colorless Eldrazi deck. And Colton's going to get hit for 4, down to 7.
This is rough for Colton, but the ballista will be able to block the Mimic and ping the Scourges, so...
Or it can just ping the Mimic and ping the Scourges.
Good point.
Kind of act like a little time walk effect there.
Ping the Mimic... It should only have 2 counters on it, right?
Oh, we're at 2? Okay.
Yeah, because we had to get rid of that. That's why getting rid of that Gemstone Mine
yep.
hurt so much.
Yeah, there are no Karoo lands out there.
Right.
Now's a pretty good time for Nat to have a Reality Smasher.
That said, Ballista is really good here. Fogging plus killing 2 Eternal Scourges sounds great.
I do see an Engineered Explosives in Colton's hand. And a Summoner's Pact.
Colton right now is just praying no Reality Smasher.
And that gets a trigger on the Mimic.
This is looking good for Nat here.
Oh, and trigger here. Swing for 4.
Nat's coming in for 4.
How did you get this? 7 from 11? 4, right? Yes, right. Yep. And it's your turn.
Players confirming life totals here.
Cool. I mean, an amulet. Is it good enough though? Colton has to.
There's some Karoo lands and a Titan, so that's maybe where it starts.
But he can't get a Titan out. It's that gem. It comes down to that Gemstone Mine. Losing that Gemstone Mine, playing this amulet here, he's still only at 5 mana unless he can get an Azusa out to change that equation. So he has to figure out, can he play the amulet and Engineered Explosives to live here? And
I don't think so, because Nat's going to be able to cast that other Scourge from the Exile Zone to trigger the Mimic.
Right. So and he can't, yeah, I guess he could play the explosives for 3 and blow it up, but then he couldn't play the amulet. I don't know, it's one of those spots. I guess he's going to have to get, oh no, he hasn't played his land drop, right?
That is correct.
I think this works because he can get Azusa, he can play an amulet, he can play and bounce the Karoo land to get enough mana to play the Titan.
And then go from there.
And then, yeah, just attack with the Titan, give it haste and vigilance, attack with it, grab like a Colony Garden and maybe a Radiant Fountain or a Kabira Crossroads to gain some life.
Are we on the Crossroads or Fountain build, do you think?
So, have you seen? I haven't seen whether he's on Selesnya. If he's on Selesnya Sanctuary and white and with Path,
yeah,
I'm like 99% sure that he would be playing. So yes, so he should have all of his mana tapped here. Yep. So, but Nat is holding a Ghost Quarter, right? So in response to the untap trigger, Nat can Ghost Quarter the Karoo land. So this is Colton's just hoping.
The untap trigger, yeah. Responding to the untap trigger, gut shot, Medusa.
That doesn't do anything. Nat has to realize that he can. Nat has to realize that he's got that Ghost Quarter.
Yep. Nope.
But he may have been distracted by the gut shot. So this is where it starts.
No.
And Colton's gonna go ahead and.
Oh, that was such a sneaky thing to do. Be like, oh, just gonna add a bunch of mana here.
Yeah, it's if you
don't mind me.
If you don't know, and Nat knew about the untap trigger, so he was aware that he could respond to the triggers there. Just his mind was on getting the Azusa off the
Yeah.
board.
I'm not faulting Colton for like in doing any kind of unsportsmanlike play, but that is, I would say that's a little bit it's a little sneaky.
Yeah, the thing about this Amulet Titan deck is you spend a lot of time thinking, and so when you start to make moves, you already have your everything planned out, and so trying to guess exactly how quickly. So I'm a little confused why Colton would be just getting these 2 lands without. He gets basically a free attack here if he gets Slayer Stronghold and Boris Garrison, because then he could get more lands. He could get those same 2 lands and get in damage. So it's possible that he's playing around something, but I think it can be easy with this Amulet Titan deck to get yourself in a mindset of playing on defense, just feeling defensive, because you're oftentimes feeling like you're playing from behind. But I've lost many games by not realizing that I could also be getting in damage at the same time and then closing out the game. Because Colton's certainly not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, we still have that Ghost Quarter on that side of the table, which can hit hit a land before it gets the untap.
That's a good point. So he could have hit the Slayer Stronghold and then killed Colton on the following turn. So that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I would have died there, probably. Gone for Slayer Stronghold, Boris Garrison, gotten Ghost Quarter. But I might have just written it out thinking Nat didn't see the Ghost Quarter on the bounce land at first, so maybe I just would have been like, maybe you won't see it this time too.
Well, I'm glad we have you on mic narrating this as well.
Oh, nothing makes me more excited than watching Amulet Titan games.
All right, we're attacking.
So,
we get a trigger.
Yes,
What's
we get a trigger
happen?
here. This is awkward because Colton's Vesuva is in play. He's definitely going to want to copy one of his 2, like Life Gain, the Kabira Crossroads, or the Colony Garden here to stay alive next turn. Interesting. So I have seen this. Colton seems to like Academy Ruins and Amulet, which makes a degree of sense.
Okay. Untap resolves. What are you bouncing?
So Colton noting this is kind of important. The bounce trigger goes on the stack. Nat can respond to the trigger, but Colton doesn't declare a target with the bounce trigger. It just, when it's allowed to resolve, it just happens on a land that you select.
And I feel like Nat might be really punished for using a gut shot when he didn't need to, if he's able to get another turn and attack with 2 Blink Moss.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because I don't think Colton would play around a gut shot.
Yeah, it does. Azusa being a 1/2 it definitely has its merits.
Well, at least it's not an 0-4.
Actually, it'd be kind of sweet as an 0-4, right?
Says the Amulet player.
Yeah. So Colton is searching, so he's on a build with at least 3 basics. Depending on how you feel, this deck plays anywhere from 2 to 4 basics. I think when blue-white was pretty heavy in the meta, people were opting to play closer to 4.
Nat's taking 6 down to 8. I'm kind of just rooting for Nat to draw another gut shot.
Well, Colton has the Kabira Crossroads in hand. So I believe he has not played his land for the turn, and he can drop that Crossroads to gain 2 here.
Well, fine.
That said, he's going to have to do something anyway because he only has 2 blockers. And with those Blinkmoth Nexus, he's looking at 5 damage.
Slow down there, I'm a little confused. those before you cast it, so then you're going to transmute and get another Titan. Okay, I get you. All right.
So that's all of Colton's land drops.
Hornet Queen seems good.
Okay.
Seems like Hornet Queen gums up those blink moss.
Yes. Yes, good. So again, this
it is funny when Amulet goes
yes.
and like I'm gonna make a bunch of mana and transmute and then get a creature and it's like there's a missing step there.
yeah. Again, it's the sort of deck where you get so happy when you figure a plan out. You get just so excited that sometimes you just don't realize that Magic is a game that's played with two people and you actually have to wait after you've solved your puzzle. You have to explain to the other person also how you've solved your puzzle. That's a thing. So Nat's going to go ahead and leave it up to Colton.
Yeah, I love it.
This is one of my favorite things to do with aggressive decks is tell the other person to figure out the math.
What you want to think about it through here?
Yeah, Colton's like, I got a thing.
So these guys you can just block.
So he essentially has 6 toughness worth of creatures from the Hornet Queen and tokens. He should be able to block everything.
Yeah, this is going to push 3 through,
But
1 through.
it's not necessarily... And Nat picks him up.
Well, I should have blown up your. I shouldn't have shot your Azusa. It didn't matter, but I shouldn't have done it. I could have shot your plant
Well,
much more profitably. But
there we go.
So, yeah.
Nat was dead on the
a really
swing back.
interesting,
Yeah.
a really interesting game. I think Nat, if you rewatch this, definitely be aware when they're untapping, when they have an Azusa out and they're using that bounce land. That's a fantastic time to Ghost Quarter is on the first untap trigger for their bounce land.
If it's a thing that you want to do,
Yes.
that's when you do it.
Yeah.